Hi, this is Sunday School Knife Talk with Mark of the Wicked Edge Expert Corner Group, and let me try to make another video. So you understand with this knife talk, what I'm trying to do is share some of my lessons that I learned about knives as I built my knife collection, and the lessons that I learned about knives, how to sharpen them with my choice of sharpener, which is a Wicked Edge. And being the Wicked Edge is a fixed angle sharpener, then what we need to learn how to do is how to apply that edge that we believe, that edge that we look at a knife and identify the edge in order to know how to sharpen it. As I said in previous video, that you can, rub any knife edge on a stone, and if you make the bevels keen so that they come together keenly, the knife will be sharp. But there are ways that knives are made, the shape of the blade and whatever, that dictates the sharpening method that should be applied to sharpen it correctly. So that's where I'm at. I sharpened knives for years, sharpened knives well, and sharpened knives with a keen edge, but I didn't necessarily always understand the edge that the maker had made that knife with. And it was only when I started to take the time to compare the different knives in my collection and to look at how the different dealers that I purchased these knives from, how those dealers specified these knives' characteristics, how they described that knife. And different knife makers make different kinds of knives, and they look alike and they're different. So let me just go through a few of them to make that point so you understand. This is called the utility knife. This is a Kagayaki VG10 Damascus 50-50 grind knife. That means that the bevel is symmetrical from one side to the other. So then the challenge is to make the edge consistent. And what angle? Well, that angle is the standard question. How fine can we go before the steel fails? And the trend is in knife sharpening that the more acute the edge that you can put on the knife, the sharper it will be. And that is a theory that a lot of us have chased, and it's not necessarily the case. And that's a whole nother day's conversation. But this is a 50-50 grind utility knife made by Kagayaki. Here is also a utility knife, about a 5-inch, 6-inch utility knife made by Kagayaki, but this is a asymmetrical ground knife. It is called a 70-30, described specification wise as a 70-30, which means that the grind on one side is different than the grind on the other side, and therefore the bevel is different. And because the bevel is different, in order to sharpen this knife the way the knife maker made it, the bevels need to be sharpened differently. Now, whether the angle is the same from side to side, that is something that remains to be discovered. And that's part of what I'm working on. Right now, what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to read what you're buying, because even though they're two knives that look an awful lot alike, made by the same knife maker, these are totally different knives. And because they're totally different knives, they most probably would best be sharpened a little differently. The edge that I would apply to this one is a 50-50. This one I would sharpen each side differently, each side separately, maybe at a different angle. But if the angle is set the same, it will be applied differently to each side because the steel is shaped differently. That's the dilemma. That is what the controversy for me is, because this side, this is a right hand knife, because this side is more normal shaped ground than this side. This side is flatter. Therefore, if you set the angles the same on a wicked edge, both sides the same, because the shape of the blade on one side is different than the other, that resulting applied edge will appear differently, and the bevels will appear differently from side to side. Those descriptions that the knife dealers, express the knife width 70-30, 90-10, 60-40, 80-20, those are supposed to indicate how the knife is ground and suggest to you a sharpening method. What I am finding is there is inconsistencies amongst makers, knife makers, and knife dealers, how they explain and specify their edges, whether 90-10, 80-20, 70-30, 60-40. That description that one maker chooses to use, I'm finding differs from another maker. And that's where I am right now, trying to understand how they designate in the catalog, in the specification, how that knife is designated as compared to how that knife actually physically looks to me when I clamp it up and I inspect it when I took it out of the box. See, I see all these different sites, all these different dealers, all these different importers describing knives differently, and that in itself has become a challenge that I'm looking into recently, is how the different dealers describe similar knives. See, I have here, these are Masamoto's. These are all different steels, but if you look, they're all pretty much the same knife. A little bit different, but this one is a high carbon stainless steel. This one is a carbon steel, and this one is a vanadium stainless steel. They are different hardnesses. They are all uneven or asymmetrically ground blades. Right-handed knives. All of them are right-handed knives, but the handles are symmetrical Western style handles. So if you pick this knife up, it doesn't say on it it's an asymmetrical grind knife. It looks like a symmetrical knife, looks like anything else. And how this knife is described in the catalog is what suggests to us how we should be looking to sharpen it. These knives are all described as 80-20, even though they're all different steel hardnesses. And if you look at each knife individually, you will see that the inside, or the left side on a right-handed knife, is ground more flat than the right side, which is more typical with the curve. And therefore, because this side and this side are different, the applied bevel size is different. These are sharpened on a belt sharpener, whether it's by a man going like this or by a belt moving across a stationary clamped knife. The left side of the blade, the bevel and the scratch pattern appears different to me than the right side. The height is different, the quality is different. I can see the quality differs from one place on the knife to the other, which shows me, I'm guessing, it shows me that a person physically sharpened this knife and there were some places where he did a better job than the other. And when they turned it over and did the other side, because the blade shape is different, also now you're going in a different direction, and he's holding it, however he's holding it, the knife maker. Now I don't know if they held it the same on the left side as the right side. That's the point that I'm making, is that all these 50-50 knives and 70-30 knives, because they're different from one side to the other, they are more handmade, more human influence in that edge grind than the Shuns and the Yaxels and the Wusthoffs that are made in the big perfect factories that every edge is 50-50 and perfect from side to side. The single edge blades to me have more character. Now why are they cut like that? My understanding from my reading is that this knife with this side straighter is supposed to enhance the way it cuts as compared to the 50-50. Now, sharpness has something to do with it. You take both knives and you sharpen them well. It's hard to say that one cuts better than the other, because they both are very sharp knives. But as a whole, my observation and my feeling is these single-sided knives, they're not single-sided, these uneven bevel knives that are ground differently on the inside than the outside. Again, this is a right-handed knife. If I was left-handed, then this would be the inside and this would be the outside. Excuse me. This would be the inside and this would be the outside if it was a left-handed knife, because I would be cutting like this as compared to cutting on the right side. So the knife is flipped. The point that I want to make there is a right-handed knife. If it is truly a right-handed knife, it is ground differently on this side than this side, and the applied edge does not, you don't sharpen a right-handed knife in a left-handed sharpening style to make a right-handed knife into a left-handed knife. The knife is ground asymmetrically in a right-hand fashion. A left-hand knife is ground in a left-hand fashion. And the applied bevels are different on a left-handed knife than a right-handed knife. They're flipped. So be aware of that when you're buying a knife, right hand or left hand. Let me try to stop this here and then continue with one more, because I'm going to run out of time.